Welcome, listeners, to My Fantasy Wife, the weekly sports meets comedy meets marriage podcast where a husband and wife discuss sports, fantasy leagues, and their impact on pop culture and relationships, including their own. I'm the wife, comedian Blair Postman.
Hey.
And back with us this week is my husband and sports stat expert, Gary Hayes.
Getting rambunctious up in this shirt.
filling in as hot topics and social media maven, our contributor, comedian, and online talk show host, Wills Maxwell.
How goes it?
It goes. And rounding things out, our sound engineer, comedian, and man about town, Mr. Louis Bishop.
You actually missed some of Will's credits.
To never miss out on our weekly episodes, extras, and more of Will's credits, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Go to our website, myfantasywife.com, with links to everything. Find us on Facebook, My Fantasy Wife Podcast, Twitter at MyFantWife, Instagram at My Fantasy Wife Podcast. Gary, tell us about this week's sponsor.
Okay, Blair, I will. Wait just 1 second while I put my glasses back on from trying to find out how to spell Mixelplix.
Okay, tell us about this week's sponsor.
Sure, Blair. This week's sponsor is Comedy Bingo at Dead Crow Comedy Club. That's Club Downtown. It's a nice place you should go. Every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. at Dead Crow Comedy, enjoy a free show featuring the best comics from the Southeast, all while playing bingo along with the words they say. Win prizes and enjoy discount wings and tacos. Hosted by Louis Bishop with in-booth sidekick comedian Lou Morgante.
That's right. Lou Morgante was my sub-hub last week, Gary.
Yeah, I heard.
I know. Well, I'm just saying. He was very nice. Wait. Okay, I like to hear that. Listeners, our upcoming guests, which, by the way, you can see at myfantasywife.com. There's now a tab. You can see our guests for each episode starting in July and going forward. And today we're going to have Sumak Turgar, and we are going to have on August 7th, Nick Vatterott. August 14th, comedian Emmett Montgomery, who is also a big underground wrestling fan. And August 21st, comedian Seton Smith. And we're also going to be starting up our Twitter football Little Pick Club, I think is Little Pick Club, Gary. Yeah. That's what we decided in the last episode. Little Pick Club. So we're going to have some comics and other guests we've had on from time to time on the show, kind of taking 3 or 5 games a week and tweeting that out to them, and they're going to tweet back their picks, and then we'll get in childish fights, and somebody will win something meaningless at the end of the football season. How's that sound, everybody?
Super.
All right,
That's superb.
Way to do it.
I know Tim Hardison's on board, and Donnell from who writes about the Cowboys, the comedian out of Raleigh, is on board. So we're gonna have some fun stuff. Good to have you back, Gary.
Did you know that in 2009, Mr. Mixelplix was ranked as IGN's 76th greatest comic book villain of all time?
Oh, wow. We're getting...
Okay. All right. See, now
76th.
Here's what's important in a radio show.
Right. Uh-huh.
The audience was not here in the soundproof booth before we started recording.
Right.
So, audience, just assume that
I understand all that, but that's just very specific. He's
Yeah,
the 76th greatest comic book villain of all time.
It's extremely well. It sounds like a bracket for
we
a
need
future.
to get that list. Yes.
It sounds like maybe a bracket for next week, Mr. Maxwell.
All right.
Drew's going to be out next week too, by the way.
Okay.
We'll talk about it.
That's www.supermansupersite.com.
All right, guys. All right. We gotta get going because we got lots of stuff happening. All right. Lots of stuff is happening in the world and in our lives and in sports.
Mixelplix.
So let's start. Would you just like to have me referred to you as Mr. Mixelplix? Mr. Mixelplix. You know what? Excellent cat name.
I really, yes.
Yeah.
That would be a good cat name.
We gotta
You
adopt
could banish him upstairs if you said his name backwards. The imp tries to get the Man of Steel to say Nam Repus, which is Superman backwards, repeatedly, but for some reason it doesn't work. Finally, he loses the election, and his mission accomplished, Superman banishes himself back to Earth by whispering Lilac, his Kryptonian name Kal-El, backwards. He fooled him. Superman's not really his name.
Oh.
Okay.
That's some clever
Are
stuff.
you sure you're done?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. For whoever's still listening,
Mixelplix.
okay. You and
And our apologies to whoever was halfway through that comic book and put it down.
wow.
Right. Yeah.
Spoiler
I
alert.
forgot the spoiler alert.
How many years old is that
I
spoiler?
have no earthly idea.
Like, how many decades old is
A
that
lot.
spoiler? Hey, Mr. Bishop.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm good. I just like to make sure you're
He just
feeling
pissed off
included.
because you just spoiled the Superman comic he was reading before we got here.
I didn't do it. You did it. You did that. You made him upset, not me.
Guess I can throw this thing.
All right, guests. All right, guys, I should say.
Guest.
We're going to have a wonderful guest on, Sumac, in a little bit, but we got some important stuff to cover before then, including some fact-checking, a little fact-checking from last week. And listeners, this is the part of the podcast where we correct the mistakes we made last week to make room for the mistakes we're going to make this week.
I didn't make any last week.
You didn't make any last week, but you pointed some out. Because we're very self-aware
Right.
here on the podcast, so we know we're going to make some more. And one of the fact checks...
s'mores.
It was delicious.
No.
All right, don't get me off focus. This isn't exactly a fact check. It's more of an opinion check. Gary was listening to us talk about the Hall of Fame and Pete Rose, and was what he did gambling on baseball worse than the steroids? And because the Hall of Fame class have been voted in, and a lot of players with excellent stats clearly not getting into the Hall of Fame because of their either confirmed or alleged steroid use. And Gary, I had said something like, "Oh, Pete Rose didn't fix any games; he wasn't smart enough, or something." Snide, and that's bad on me. But Gary said, "We really don't know." And your point, you want to explain your point on this?
Well, my point was actually, I just think betting on the sports is really bad because the whole thing.
You thought it was worse than the steroids.
Yes, or at least it's equal. The whole thing is like if you can't believe in the actual competitive nature of the game,
Right.
there's about $1 trillion being bet on it, and so that's all rigged if it's not real. And then you become wrestling. Like if it's scripted, if you decide
Not that that's bad.
No, but it's just not what you purport to be.
Right.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, it shakes the whole foundation of the game if the stuff isn't real.
And your point was that part of the time that he was betting, he was actually the manager of the team,
Yeah.
managing the team while they played, and he bet on the games that they
Right.
were playing in. So if anyone he had more control over trying to throw a game, let's say, than an individual player might.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like your
Especially in baseball.
Your left-handed relief pitcher comes to you and says, "Hey, boss, my hemorrhoids are really throbbing today. I don't think I can generate any arm torque." And then you put him right in, and nobody else knew that, and he gets shelled. It's and your bet wins.
Yeah. Is that a thing? Does that influence
don't.
arm torque? Okay. I didn't
I know
know.
nothing about the human body. I was
Well,
convinced.
Don't you have one?
I know very little about
he tries
this.
to ignore it. Just
Okay.
he showers in a
have-
burlap sack.
I have not seen
Wow.
a doctor since my birth, and I don't remember that.
Is the
very well.
shower head in the sack with you, or does it come through the sack from the outside?
I don't know. I've not been there. It's just a rumor I heard.
Again, not familiar.
No, he doesn't. It's all a blur.
It's all.
Every shower he's ever taken,
Super
is-
drunk
he's
before he turns
blacked
the
out.
water on. He just doesn't remember.
I'm
Right.
this is a biology lesson right now.
All right.
Hemorrhoids make you not be able to throw as well.
All right,
That's what
good.
I'm learning.
Well, we might have to fact check that next week. All right, guys. Another one. Again, this is a Gary fact. It's less of a fact check this week, and it's more of like a Gary catching up, settling some scores since he wasn't here last week. One of those is that our good friend of the podcast, comedian Tim Harmson, he was on with his wife and comedian Mary Mack, and Tim said that his Packers would go 13-3, and Gary took some exception.
I took the under on that. Yeah.
Gary took some exception to that. He didn't think that was likely.
No.
And then finally,
But that's an opinion. You can't fact check an opinion.
No, that's what.
Well, try
In
to
fact,
tell
I
that-
said that.
try to
I
tell that to
said that.
Gary.
I said this isn't a fact check. It's just an opinion.
no,
Oh, okay.
I was overruled.
It was a Gary. We didn't make that many mistakes last week. I'm trying to spice things up here, and
Instead of just hanging your hat on not making mistakes.
yeah, just right, exactly.
Don't worry.
Instead of being okay with that, look, we got to fill some time.
I'm
We got to
back.
make every week. We have to make a certain number of mistakes so we can do the episode next week.
I'm back. There'll be plenty of mistakes this week.
Okay, good.
Remember when Goldwater won that election?
All right. All right, good going. All right, well, there's 3 minutes for next week
Right.
already in the can.
Yep.
And then finally, we were talking about, and we're going to talk about this more. We won't get into all of it now, but we're talking about Jake the Snake and what was his wrestler Jake the Snake and what was his real name. It is Aurelian Smith, Aurelian Smith.
Why would you ever change that name?
I don't know. It's pretty fancy sounding.
Well, the first name and the last name is Smith.
So it's Smitty.
yeah.
I don't know. It's not Roberts.
Aurelian the Snake Smith.
Oh, really?
Ori.
That's a knight character. That's
Right.
now he's a knight of the round table.
Yeah. Knights of the Round
Or he's an
Table.
inhuman. He might be an inhuman.
And oh, is that the ones that live on Mount Everest?
Yeah.
That's the one with the red head?
Yes.
Yeah.
The one with the red.
Please don't even. All right, guys. Well, if we're all good there, we're gonna move on to some hot topics.
You know, her hair had moved under its own control and had substantial tensile strength of its own.
Okay.
That could come in damn handy.
Okay. Now, before we move on to hot topics,
Right.
is there anything else you'd like to talk about regarding the redhead in the Inhumans?
Who had hair that you could use like hands? Is there anything else I want to talk about? Let me think.
Stay tuned for our spin-off podcast. Gary fetishizes Medusa. It's great.
Right.
Oh, my.
I turned to stone all right, but it's...
Okay. All right. You don't happen to have that change music handy, do you, Mr. Bishop? Oh, now we can't talk about it anymore.
Mabel's laugh.
Your work here is done. All right, Gary, every week for the last few weeks, we've been asking this question. Do we care about baseball yet?
No.
What about the Cubs? Didn't they get a good pitcher?
Yes, they did.
and something?
That briefly piqued my interest for about 11 seconds.
Well, what were the 11 seconds like for you?
Aroldis Chapman from the Yankees, who throws 486 miles an hour. They got him for a song and a dance. So now they have the best closer in baseball, in addition to all that young hitting talent.
And then,
Here's something interesting that I learned about that particular subject, because he's widely regarded as the hardest thrower in baseball. He's been clocked at like 104 miles an hour. But I read recently or heard on SportsCenter that they clock these things differently now, and they used to measure it coming out of the hand, and now they measure it like on the way to the plate.
Right.
And it's caused everybody's readings to go up a couple of miles an hour.
Oh.
So they said you could take your Nolan Ryan readings from the early 70s and tack on about 6 miles an hour.
Wow.
So
That's
this
crazy.
guy throwing 104 now, which just blew everybody away. It's actually not really that much faster because they use a different measurement, and Nolan Ryan was probably more like 105 or 106 than the 100 he was clocked at.
Jeez.
Just
That was a fun fact.
It was a fun fact.
It was a fun fact. And it was probably right. We probably don't have to.
I
fact check it.
read it somewhere on the internet, so it's certainly right.
It's certainly correct. And then I heard something about, and we'll get in a little more about Cleveland in general with Sumac, but the Cleveland Indians made a bunch of big trades today or yesterday. I didn't realize they were doing so well.
I was in the car, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you know of the Cleveland Indians have
I've
a real
heard of them.
shot
Yeah.
a real shot at this World Series thing this year?
Maybe. Baseball is so hard. Like, the team that comes in with the second wild card is just as likely to win the World Series as the team that had the best record. It's very, the being built for the regular season success does not translate into winning the World Series. The Braves won 15 division titles in a row and only won one World Series.
Right.
Because they had all these, they could have to go 4 and 5 deep in starting pitching. In the playoffs, you don't need 4 or 5. You need 2, maybe 3.
Well,
So
what you're saying is no, we don't care about baseball yet.
no,
Okay.
that is yes. That's what I'm saying. No, could
All right,
not
we
care
just
less.
like to check in every week, make sure. Okay, guys, the Olympics are starting this week.
Mixelplick.
The Olympics are starting this week. And I'll just read this little excerpt. We've talked about this a lot, but New York Times, health experts in Brazil have a word of advice for the Olympic marathon swimmers, sailors, and windsurfers competing in Rio de Janeiro's picture postcard waters next month. Keep your mouth closed. Despite the government's promises 7 years ago to stem the waste that fouls Rio's expansive Guanabara Bay and the city's fabled ocean beaches, officials acknowledge that their efforts to treat raw sewage and scoop up household garbage have fallen far short. In fact, environmentalists and scientists say Rio's waters are much more contaminated than previously thought. Recent tests by government and independent scientists reveal that veritable petri dish of pathogens in many of the city's waters, from rotaviruses that can cause diarrhea and vomiting to drug-resistant superbacteria that can be fatal to people with weakened immune systems. Foreign athletes will literally be swimming in human crap. And this is from the New York Times, guys. The human crap, and they risk getting sick from all the microorganisms, said Dr. Daniel Becker, a local pediatrician who works in the neighborhoods.
They got Dr. Becker to say something about this?
Yeah, they did. Dr. Becker said something about this. And with we're a podcast. We can't show the visual, but just so you know, the picture accompanying it on a line was a human body in the bag.
Well, I was just thinking about Mixelplix again, and I noticed.
Really? And how does that pertain
Well, I
here?
noticed that because you said crap, and I just dawned on me that crap backwards is park.
in French
Park
with
yeah,
a C.
Right.
Okay.
And actually,
do I need to make the
continue
change
down
music
No,
come
let's
back
just,
again?
for one little observation, as I was thinking about Mr. Mixelplick, Pokemon backwards is Name Cop.
I can't figure that
So,
out. Does that sound right to you?
Name Cop.
That'd be
Mon,
that'd be
Nome.
that'd be a Gnome
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 Cop.
Cop.
Gnome Cop.
which
That
I
kinda-
would watch that cartoon.
Which kind of works.
Yeah.
Like I'm a gnome cop.
I would watch
I'm here
the
to clean
hell
up.
out of that
I'm
Gnome
here to.
Cop.
Yeah.
I'm
He
here to
plays-
clean up the lawns of this neighborhood.
Because he plays by his own rules and they force him to get a partner.
Yes.
No, yeah.
Gnome Cop, you've gone too far this time. Give me your badge and your pointy hat. Your badge and your pointy hat, Gnome Cop.
He busted up like 6 Smurfs until they cut him in for a share. Yeah.
Has he gone bad? Is he corrupt or is the system corrupt? Gnome cop.
The door slammed shut on the dark room, and Am I Blue started playing, and then the Smurfs just started dropping.
What
like
happens in
flies.
What happens in Gnome Cop 2? Back to Detroit. I don't know.
That's when he finds out that the head of the homeowners association that hired him had been killed.
Right.
So now he's got to
Oh.
go deep
Oh, wow.
Judge
See,
Reinhold also
into the
in
lawn
these.
jockey ring.
Did you say Judd Reinhold?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Nice.
Back on the mean streets of Detroit. Gnome Cop has to get back to the basics.
Look, Chief, I just got to do things my own way.
This summer, audiences will be wowed when Gnome Cop gets crazy.
I don't want to take this for you. I don't want to take this for you. I don't want to take this for you.
Wow.
Starring Judge Reinhold.
As basically just Judge Reinhold.
Oh, Gnome Cop, you're just going too far this time.
All right.
Wow.
All right, guys. We got to get going here.
Playing music exclusively from Toto's 99 album, Gnome Cop.
Oh, God. It's been a while. We've been
I
able
would
to
watch
avoid.
that movie.
Oh, Jesus. This is, wow, it's been a while since I've had to hear
Right.
99. Are you mad at me because of the stand that for civil rights I took earlier in the episode? Oh, my God.
Gnome Cop.
Wait a second. Gnome Cop, I'm worried about you. I'm worried you're not going to be coming back home or to the lawn.
This summer, Gnome Cop looks danger right in the eye.
Right in the knee.
Right in the knee. Try that again, Mr. Bishop.
This summer, Gnome Cop. That's a different movie.
Which is a totally different movie. Spin-off movie.
If Pokemon backwards was Gnome Cock, that would really explain
That
some
wouldn't be
shit.
good. That wouldn't be good.
Look, I've had it up to over my head with all this.
What do you think, ESPN? Want to buy our podcast?
This summer, Gnome Cop looks danger right in the knee.
It's a little anticlimactic now, but
Yeah.
I think that's the tagline.
It's not as good as the other movie.
All
Any
right.
of our listeners are like really talented with graphic design and can draw up what the Gnome Cop poster would look like.
That's okay. I think Cameron Smith is going to be on that tonight. So, all right, guys, change it. I know. Wow.
Oh, I thought you were talking more about Brazil. You're
Oh, I don't know. What's the point? It's terrible. It's not going to get clean.
I love it.
This is crazy.
That's my favorite thing about the Olympics in my lifetime.
What?
Is the water in Brazil. Been used for Olympic sporting venues.
Yeah, I mean,
for yachts. Like the yachtsmen are coming from all over the world. They actually had to change the testing
What about
venue.
the poor distance swimmers? That's got to be worse.
I know, but at least they're not like pretentious billionaires.
Oh, well,
I mean, there's something
I don't
about
know.
those guys having to swim around in the poop.
Yeah.
Poop deck, Blair.
Yeah.
They got a poop deck on
Right.
those boats.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
It's just writes itself.
All the decks will be poop decks
Yes,
at
right.
the Olympics. I get it.
Yeah.
And then Zika, just to throw that in there.
I love that this it's just like just finding out that it's even worse than we thought. Like we were already panicking.
Like it
as
was-
We
much as
already
we
thought
could
it was the worst
panic.
thing in the history of the world.
Yeah, and it's like no, it's even worse.
Yes.
Could have been Chicago. We could have had it in Chicago this year.
Right, I
This
mean,
was when
could have been
Chicago put the bid in.
Could have been Chicago. Public transportation.
Yeah, it's like the ethics of the Nazis was way worse than we thought.
Yeah.
Really?
This was way. This was.
It turns
Guys,
out,
sit down.
well, we found out some new stuff.
Yeah, they weren't gassing the Jews; they were beating them to death with other Jews. It
Oh
was
my
way
God.
worse than we
Let's
even
not
thought.
put our thinking caps on
Yeah,
and
I'm
make
not-
up ways the Holocaust
Yeah, we
could have been
don't.
worse.
Yeah, we don't have to do
Just
that.
saying,
We don't
it's
have to do
bad.
that.
The poop is bad.
We
That's
don't
all
have
This
I'm
is
saying.
bad. Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
it's even worse.
Even worse.
Yeah.
Right.
If our listeners listened and wrote, we would be in trouble. This podcast.
Bava doesn't care.
So, all right, guys.
This summer, Gnome Cop is going down to Brazil to clean up the streets and clean up the water. One person at a time.
Gnome Cop 3, Tango in Rio.
Rumble in Rio.
Gnome Cop, I've got the Olympic Committee up my ass on this. I don't want you to go in that water any deeper than you can.
I gotta do it my way. I gotta do it my way. I gotta do it my way.
Gnome Cop's doing it his way. It's his way or the Rio way.
I feel like Rio means way.
Wow, that would be quite. There's
All right.
a fact check for
There's a
it.
fact check.
Well, is Rio?
It's my way or
equal-
the way.
It's my way or the way. All right. Anything else about Rio before we switch gears? We gotta call our guests in a few minutes here. Anything else?
Gnome.
Oh, no. It's gonna be
Mixel.
I mean, I just don't even know what to say about Gnome Cop anymore.
Well, on the one hand, it would be fairly easy to get him to say Pokemon and send himself to another dimension.
Yeah.
Because that seems to be a hot term these days.
Yeah, exactly. You'd be able to do that. Okay, now we're gonna change our hot topic change. Okay, guys.
Topic.
Okay, yes.
Sorry.
Hot topics. So, we should have done that at the beginning. So resurrection of Jake the Snake, guys. Every once in a while we like to take in a sports documentary because that's what I enjoy about sports. You know, sure they have stats and things, but I like to know why their childhoods were troubling, or what's been going on in their lives since they retired. And so Mr. Bishop recommended the resurrection of Jake the Snake, and it was a little traumatic. I mean, I was worried about him pretty much right up to the end. He went in and he was rescued by, I guess you could say rescued. You can really only rescue yourself, I suppose, from drug addiction and alcoholism. But his friend DDP went and picked him up and lived with him for months and put in a lot of time and patience. And it looks like he cleaned up his act. But what'd you take away from it, Wills?
I thought it was super motivational, just like the idea of like the Diamond Dallas Page kept saying, like, you know, whatever results you want, you can have it. You can get whatever life you want as long as you're willing to put the work in. And I thought that was really cool. That was my main takeaway from it because you can see, you know, despite the number of times Jake relapsed into his alcoholism.
And he did.
And he did a few times, but he
Spoiler alert, but yeah.
But he was trying. Like, you could tell that he was
Just
putting in the
went to
work.
the
He was doing
airport.
just went to the airport.
You took all my money.
I've had 2 beers. I've had 4 beers.
I've
only.
had no more than 18
I've had
beers.
no more than-
Yeah, I mean, been there.
And
But-
some tequila.
Yeah,
But
right.
you could tell he was putting in the work. He worked hard on the yoga. He worked hard and to lose the weight. He lost like 50 plus pounds, you know. And it was just really motivational just to see him and Razor Ramon just like work really hard to
Him
get
too.
their life back together. Yeah.
What did you when you're the big wrestling background guy, Mr. Bishop? What did you think about it when you first saw it?
Well, it was great because there was, for years, it was known that Jake the Snake was not only an alcoholic, but he smoked crack.
Yeah. Right.
Like in the documentary Beyond the Mat. It shows him and he's like broken and everything. You know he's an alcoholic, but the next thing you know, he's getting crack and he'll do shows if they can get him crack and everything. So
Yeah.
Man.
and you got into some of like his demons on that documentary, but so that was Jesus. That was like when I was like 18. That documentary come out. So
He was
wow.
he was
So he was in
using for years.
for a long time.
Just like another example of us like watching him struggling and knowing like kind of
right.
helping. Yeah.
For him to be able to get
Well, he couldn't. I mean, you got to help yourself to some degree, but
Right.
yeah, he definitely needs somebody to put out a hand at that point.
right to get his life around that, you know, it's great, you know. So
I think it was amazing too. It just shows you what a little bit of like this was more than stretching. But I remember in the first few minutes of the show, there have DDP there showing him like some stretches or trying to do something, and he couldn't put any pressure on his toes. Like he couldn't like bend his knee. Like it was amazing what a few months, and we're going to talk about DDP yoga with Smock in a little bit, but it's amazing what some working, he was 60, I believe. You know, it wasn't like he was a young guy, and the amount of flexibility and strength and the shape he was able to get back in
Right.
After years of not being able to like touch his knees, you know, it was remarkable.
I see Scott go from like not being able to walk to wrestling at the end. Like
Yeah.
he's back in the ring grappling with him. He couldn't walk a year before.
It was also, though, remarkable about how easy it is to slip back in because, you know, he met some woman or some people, and they didn't go too deep into it. He would meet people maybe at a meeting, and they haven't been out that long, and they haven't been sober that long, and they, you know, he kind of gets in with somebody who doesn't have a lot of recovery, and that he would fall off the wagon, you know, and the frustration of his family, too, of being like, you know, we know he's trying, and yet it's so disappointing when he relapses in every 3 months and before he got a lot of sobriety. And so a lot of it was how much the people around you matter.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to say about that, Mr. Hames?
I thought the documentary was very realistic.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those problems occur frequently in normal, non-famous people's recoveries.
Right. I think it's got to be worse when you have notoriety, too, because you just got the feeling that, like, some of those people obviously were kind of latching on to him, you know, like, oh, hey, there are cameras around. Oh, this guy was famous, however. You know, I'm gonna get around him, and that's, you know, not a good motivation for somebody you want, you know, in a helpful inner circle when you're trying to stay sober.
Yeah.
I would think.
Yeah, I could see a lot of like crackhead wrestling fans trying to, you know, go get high with him because they
It's a
recognized
story.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
whereas you would have to buy your crack.
Right, exactly. And it also, it was a little, it just shows you that, like, everybody goes in who's actively trying to get sober is going in with good intentions, or most of them are. And it wasn't like he went to a rehab facility. He finally started to do a meeting every day for 90 days, which started to get him on track for the longer term sobriety. But you see the people he not hooks up, but, you know, the people he would meet who maybe weren't a great influence, they were trying to get sober too.
Yeah.
And, you know, he probably wasn't that great an influence on them either. Like, you just need to really surround yourself with people who've been very sober for a long time, and not only a bunch of other newcomers like yourself. What do you think about that?
Hang with the winners.
What do you think about that, Mr. Hames?
That's what they say. Hang with the winners.
All right.
I don't know. I thought it was very interesting whenever you could tell a difference. Because I have a friend, he lives in Vermont now, but he went through AA and he's still sober and everything like that. I don't know if he had like a relapse or anything. I don't know. But I mean, he's sober right now, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
Right, he could have
maybe, I don't know. But he like really ratcheted down like hardcore with meetings every single day, and I could tell a difference, personally. And I then in the documentary, of course, I could tell a difference as well in the way that Jake Roberts was focused with the 90 days going to a meeting every
90
single
and
night.
90.
Yeah, so I don't know, that was really impressive. I mean, it's clearly they do it. AA works because like it helped my friend and it helped in this documentary Jake Roberts as well. So I guess but them being dedicated to it is what really changed it on the documentary.
Well, you got to change a lifetime of thinking,
right?
And behaviors and pathways in your brain. So I mean, it's all the physical training is, I think, just a metaphor for the changing of your brain chemistry and the changing of the way you're used to thinking. But all right, a very special episode of my Fantasy Wife podcast. But I really, you see, I don't know anything. I didn't know about these guys. But I really loved that documentary. I thought it was great. We recommend it. All right, a little change of music, if you don't mind, or change of topic music. We're gonna call, and hopefully he's there. We're gonna call our guest now, Sumac Tolgakar, and there's the calling machine right there, Mr. Bishop.
This is the calling machine.
Yeah, I lost.
Okay.
Is it okay that I can't
machine.
hear anything right now? Oh, okay, never mind. It was me.
What did you do?
I pushed a button I wasn't supposed to push.
Okay.
It's fine.
Don't push buttons.
I'm sorry. I apologize. This is why I'm not in charge of the recording part of it. It's one of about 73 reasons.
What's that number right there?
I'm gonna do this,
Push those buttons.
right? And I'll make the.
Oh, you're gonna do that?
Yeah, I think I can.
Can you pull the latch?
What
On the calling machine?
Can you pull the latch on the calling machine?
is that? I'm just gonna push this button.
I know.
Oh, okay.
Greenfield 8500, please, and make it snappy. I'm in a hurry.
I put it on the keys are on the divan. They're on the Davenport.
And
You know, the
shot
Chesterfield.
down.
Yeah.
I'm like, is there a latch? All right, here we go.
Blair, she's teaching a improv class called what?
Yes, but can you repeat that, please?
Oh, and
Yes, and go fuck yourself.
What? There's someone at the door. There's no door here. What?
What are you talking about?
Oh, I take that.
you
Class.
guys are delusional.
Hello?
Is this Samuk Tolgakar?
Sort of.
It is.
It is. Hi, this is Blair Postman, and you're on with my Fantasy Wife podcast. How are you?
Good, Blair. How are you?
I'm good. Sumak, I am going to do some introductions. Is that okay?
Yeah, please do.
All right, we'll get started. I'll let you know who's in the room here. First to my
What
left.
room?
It's our the imaginary, fanciful recording planet where we all live in our imaginations. To my left is my husband and sports stat expert, Gary Hames.
Hey, man.
Hey, how's it going?
Fantastic.
And on his left is our hot topics and social media maven, comedian Wills Maxwell.
How you going, Smack?
Hey, good, man. How are you?
Doing all right.
And rounding things out is comedian and sound engineer Louis Bishop.
Hi.
Hey.
Hey, now 2 things before we get started. I have listened. I've listened to other podcasts, but I want you to say it and please forgive me. But I want you to please say one time for me, if you wouldn't mind terribly, how you would like us to pronounce your name correctly.
Sure. It's Samuk Torgalkar.
Samuk Torgalkar, and I realize that your in fact your new album, or not so new, but your hit album is called the most mispronunciation of Samuk Torgalkar, and I just butchered it again there. But I want you to know that I've been really paying attention to this. I've just yes. Sorry.
No, it's totally fine, and I appreciate it. And as you were apologizing, I knew where you were headed, but that's fine. And hey, and the way you were pronouncing it beforehand is really how a lot of people in comedy had been pronouncing it. And once I released the album, it kind of felt like, well, I should really kind of put my foot down to getting people to pronounce it the appropriate way, since I've now released an album on the topic.
Right. And it is.
Yeah.
And if I could just do a little bit more of your official introduction here, you started doing comedy in Columbus, Ohio, and you helped organize many comedy festivals and independent shows in the city. You're now based in Los Angeles, and you work as a freelance comedy writer, and you've contributed to Mad, 614, Columbus Alive, and you've also, your first stand-up comedy album, The Mispronunciation of Samuk Tolgakar, which it came out in August 2015, and it was a top 10 on iTunes charts. Is that, that's right, isn't it? You're a big...
Yeah, you ran it all down very well.
Except for the most important part.
We spend so much money in private detectives.
Yeah, well, yes, we do spend a lot of money on private detectives here on the My Fantasy Wife podcast. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So,
yeah, thank you for having me.
But you're a big Cleveland fan all around, is that right?
That's correct. I was born there. I grew up there, so
Nice.
it stuck with me.
And so you've got a lot to be excited about this year, I think. I mean, you've got what we call the Cleveland LeBrons. I hear something about the Cleveland Indians just made a big trade. What's your favorite memories, or what's your the best part about being a Cleveland fan these days?
Well, now, I mean, I think winning the title was the biggest moment now, and that's something we've been waiting for, obviously, for 52 years, which predates even my existence. But for my generation, I've always said, the Indians teams in the 90s were the most fun to watch.
Uh-huh.
It kind of revived the city in a way that I hadn't seen, certainly in my limited life at that point, but that we hadn't seen really in decades. So those teams were a lot of fun. It was always disappointing that they never won a championship, never won a World Series. It still doesn't make sense to me that those teams, for how stacked they were, never won.
I remember watching Believe Land, and that's really how I learn about sports, is I watch biographies and ESPN 30 for 30s. But I watched Believe Land a couple of months ago, and that really seemed every bit as heartbreaking, as the Browns leaving and moving to Baltimore. It seemed like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really funny because it's hard. They did a great job of expressing how Cleveland fans work, but it's one of those things where afterwards I just thought this could just be a mini-series because
right.
to try to stamp so much of that into an hour and a half was really difficult, but they did a good job of it. And, yeah, I think, again, Cleveland will always be a football city, so that move really had a huge impact on the city. But, again, for me, for my era at least, because of the move, we kind of got a little detached from football. At least I did personally.
Uh-huh.
Right.
And it was at the same time the Indians were starting to get really good.
Right.
And that was such an exciting part of the time. So it was a weird time, like 1995, to have the Browns, who had been a part of that city in so many ways and the lifeblood of that city, to leave. But around the same time, the Indians had really started to come up and be the darlings of the city. So
how much
yeah,
of that?
But they captured it really well.
How much of that baseball resurgence in the 90s? Because I'm a lifelong baseball fan, and I always liked the Cleveland teams in the 90s. Had so much talent. It was amazing. And they kind of pioneered signing those guys early before they got to, like, their full market values. They'd give them contracts in their second or third year when it became apparent they were going to be good, and they were able to keep a lot of those guys. But wasn't a lot of that stadium-driven? Like, didn't you guys get the new – like, it was one of those first, like, retro baseball stadiums, and it was sold out, like, 10 years in advance or something from the day they built it. And didn't that power a lot of that?
Yeah, well, initially, so obviously that new stadium came in '94, and it was called Jacobs Field.
Right.
And it was named after our owner, Richard Jacobs. And so in the late '80s, he just saw the philosophy of building through the farm system. So that's where a lot of these guys were coming in the late '80s, early '90s. Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, all these bigger names that we associate with those teams were coming up through our farm system. And it just was this weird, perfect timing that as the stadium opened, that opening day that was really great, Bill Clinton threw out the first pitch. It was just this epic moment in '94. Then the team was actually really good. But that, of course, was the strike season, so we didn't get to see how that whole season would play out to see if they'd actually make it to the playoffs. So then we come back in '95, which was a shortened season because the strike continued into that year. And then we came out and had an unbelievable season and went to the World Series. So, yeah, it wasn't, I don't recall it. I think there was a lot of anticipation, certainly, for that new stadium coming in. It built on it that, it was sold out that opening day, as it is every opening day. But those 90s teams, I mean, they had the longest streak of sellouts in a row at Jacobs Field throughout the 90s. And when that streak broke, I mean, it was a big deal that we ended after a while. And now I think the Red Sox technically broke that record for Major League Baseball, but there's always fishy stuff with that too. You never know if they're just like, it's a sellout, but it wasn't really or whatever. But for what it was in Cleveland for that time period in the 90s, it was kind of an economic revival for Cleveland, as well as the team was so good. It was just exciting to be downtown.
So, Samuk, what was it like this year with the Cavaliers? I mean, there's still a lot of heartbreak and plenty of heartbreak to go around in Cleveland sports. But I mean, what was that like? I mean, if you're a fan your whole life and all this heartbreak around Cleveland sports, and I was excited and thrilled, and I was watching the final game in an airport with some friends. And, I mean, we were flying. We weren't just going to the airport to watch the game.
As you do.
Right, as I do. And I was excited and thrilled. And, honestly, I don't really care. So, I mean, what was it like for you?
I mean, unbelievable. Just emotions. I didn't, when it happened, when we finally won, a lot of people cried, but I couldn't even get myself to tears because it was just such shock.
Right.
When you're used to the teams you cheer for finding the most crazy ways to lose, being, a mockery as a city nationally, let alone the teams are looked at as a joke, to have them come back from 3-1 down to win, to have that game, go the way it did with LeBron's block and Kyrie's shot, Kevin Love's defense, like against a team that went 73-9, and broke the single season win record for the NBA. It just so many factors in it where it was unbelievable that it was hard to really have it set in for like a week, and it feels great because I can't really express to people who aren't from Cleveland just how much sports means to that city, how much it is like a family component to things. And you just, whether you like it, and there's certainly people who don't care about sports in Cleveland, but they also can't deny that it brings this unity to the city in a really special way.
Right.
So, I'm still wrapping my head around it all.
It's like it was a big fucking deal.
Entirely real still, yeah. And it had a weird effect on how I interact with everything else related. The Indians are doing really well. I would love it for them to win the World Series, obviously.
Right.
But it also it put off all the pressure on these other teams too, and on myself even as a fan, to go, okay, I'll take another 30 years of the Browns being terrible. I don't care anymore because we finally just got one title in my life.
One a lifetime is enough to take the pressure off. Well, just switching gears a little bit, we were actually just talking about doing sort of a little review and recap of the documentary on Netflix, Resurrection of Jake the Snake. And Mr. Bishop, in particular, has a background in wrestling. He used to do some promotion and some shows, and it's just a huge fan as well. Gary,
now he does comedy.
And now he does comedy.
He can't get away from the horrible industries of,
right, exactly.
of little money.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Well, please, we could write a book. Anyway, we
can't afford to.
We can't afford to write a book. Right, exactly. It was a metaphor. But but I understand that you kind of had a foray. You had a little. I can't speak words today. I'm on very little sleep.
Why are you trying to do such big words?
I was just a normal word, but it got carried. I have very little sleep and a lot of
Some
caffeine
people have
today.
a way with words, Blair. Other people not have way.
Other people not have way. I not have way today. But anyway, you did just some DDP yoga, and I was wondering if you could tell us your adventures in that a little bit.
Not too much. It's still a very new thing, but I had always kind of dabbled in yoga, really not. I haven't done it too much, but now was kind of a time where I said, okay, I'm going to really put my foot down and start to get into it. So yeah, I'm just doing stuff that's obviously available on YouTube. That's free for now.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of prepping myself up for that moment where I actually do delve more into DDP yoga. And in part, I watched The Resurrection of Jake the Snake.
Yeah.
And which really was a nice documentary, but also was just a complete infomercial for DDP yoga.
It was kind of.
No, it's not.
Because clearly, like, the director was tied to it, and it was a nice ad. And I don't think you can deny when he manages to totally change the lives of two really great wrestlers who I grew up being fans of, and is, for how many times Jake the Snake or Scott Hall went through rehab. It's crazy that this thing helped them to get their sobriety and get motivated. I have a lot of respect for that.
Yeah.
Well, and just the fact that they were able to move again, which they weren't able to do. Go ahead, Mr. Maxwell.
It's not an infomercial. It just so happens that Diamond Dallas Page only owns DDP yoga shirts. That's all he has in his home. It's just various. That's not an infomercial.
Those are just all the clothes he has. That's all he's able to put on his body. We're speaking of yoga because I'm a big yoga fan, and I've been going 2, 3, 4 times a week for the last year and a half, and It certainly has helped me. I'm not the queen of yoga by any means. And
I prefer the toppings.
Now that's yogurt.
Oh,
dear.
yogurt.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's,
sorry.
that is yogurt,
Sorry.
and that's not what we're talking about. But the intersection of wrestling and yoga in that documentary is so interesting. But just in general, and so we had kind of come up with a little game here. We play games with all of our guests, and we're wondering if you would. We're going to play a little game here, and we've got a list of titles, phrases, and you have to guess if it's a wrestling move, a yoga pose, a Kama Sutra pose, or if we just made it up. And
All right.
yeah, and I'll have to say here that I imagine there might be some fact checking. We might be told that we got some of this wrong because there is a lot of all of these things. So it's entirely possible that I missed something. But if you're ready, we'll just jump on in.
Wrestling can turn into Kama Sutra,
I have a question real quick.
Oh, sure, Mr. Bishop.
You said that you are a wrestling fan, though? Like you grew up watching it?
Yeah, I grew up watching it. I will say what's happening currently, I'm not that versed in because I don't have network or anything like that.
I as well. Who is your favorite tag team of all time? Who's the best tag team of all time?
Who's the best tag? Ooh,
Yeah,
it's tough. I have I have a special. Wow, I love so many of them.
Right.
I like Demolition a lot, but I think it's purely because I thought they had one of the best intros growing up. I just loved their ring entrance theme. But I also like the Legion of Doom, and I like the Rockers.
Oh, look at you!
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think that's where it's at when I think of tag teams immediately in my brain.
Okay. Well, he knows.
Oh,
his...
can I guess there was one underrated tag team that I always wished would win the title, but you knew they never would. Was High Energy.
High Energy.
Because
yeah.
I loved Owen Hart. I liked Coco Beware.
Right.
I didn't necessarily think Coco was a great wrestler, but I think he was a great entertainer. But they were clearly like that cusp tag team that's pretty much a jobber. But,
right.
But I could always wish these smaller sized guys could win the title.
All right, I think Mr. Bishop is duly impressed with your knowledge of tag team wrestling. So
he's gonna know this. He's gonna he's gonna pass this.
He wants to know. We always have a running pool, so he wants to know which way to bet. He's betting that you're gonna get this all right. All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's start. I'll start with one, and then you guys just will go in order.
All right.
Or across this way. I'm going to take number 2. Is the phrase perfect plex, is it wrestling, yoga, Kama Sutra, or fake?
It is wrestling.
Ding, 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 ding. That is correct. All right. Gary, what do you got?
How about number 12, the feathered peacock?
Feathered peacock.
Huh. Feathered peacock.
Wrestling, yoga, Kama Sutra, or fake?
That sounds fake.
It is yoga. And I was also surprised. That sounds...
That must be really advanced,
It's like
I guess.
super
I don't know.
advanced, like super...
Sounds like a horrible move
It
that
sounds like very...
my body wouldn't be capable of doing.
Like very painful, and also you might have to have a special outfit for it. All right, Mr. Maxwell.
How about number 9, the seesaw?
The seesaw. Wrestling, yoga, Kama Sutra, or fake?
Can I say fake again?
You can say fake as much as you want, but that is Kama Sutra. Okay, well, this is where Smoke's like, listen, I know my Kama Sutra backwards and forwards, and that is wrong. Like, so if if you think we're wrong, by all means.
Of the 4, I guess that was the most possible, but I still somehow did not know what that could possibly be.
Well,
this is a tough game. I think it's like the toughest dump someone game I've ever seen.
And by the way, sometimes you just want to look up a list of Kama Sutra terms on and Google it, and you just want the terms, but it's very difficult to not get a lot of bells and whistles with it. So Gary, don't be too worried. Gotta go
I
clear.
don't want to know what the research that went into this
Yeah,
was.
I'm gonna need to do some very serious clearing of browser history and cookies and such when I get back home.
Delete ddpkamasutra.com.
Yeah, we played Pokemon for days to come up with those terms.
Okay. Oh, that's an allusion to a part of the podcast you missed. But anyway, what about? Okay, this one is a little. How about crane? Crane.
The crane?
Crane.
I mean, that was the Karate Kid, but that doesn't help at all.
Well, I'm going to tell you, and this is just because I was interested. Apparently there's a crane and a crane kick, both in yoga, and there's one in wrestling too. That was kind of a trick question. That was kind of mean of me. I shouldn't have used that one.
Oh, okay, but it is yoga.
It is, yeah. There is in yoga, yeah.
Okay.
What about you, Gary? You want to pick one?
Wow.
We're all learning today.
Yeah, how about, the selection is, how about number 44, in the foot there is truth. In the foot there is truth.
Is that Kama Sutra?
Yes,
It is. How'd you know
Kama
that?
Sutra.
Is that Kama Sutra?
I can't
Right.
imagine
He's-
anyone's corner man shouting that at them.
I
In the
did-
foot there is truth.
I did it 3 times yesterday, but I'm embarrassed to admit it.
Right. Well, I thought it sounded a little yoga-y
Right.
or fake.
Right.
All right.
Oh, wait, that was number 44? How many of these
We're
did
not
you
going to
make?
do them all. There's a
We have
long.
quite a list, though.
This is a 7.5-hour
Blair got a little
podcast.
carried away when she got the Kama
Okay.
Sutra up.
Right.
We got 264 more to go. All right, here we go.
Oh, wow.
We're just going to do another round or so. Let's see. I'll find a fun one. How about cow face?
Wow.
Cow face.
Cow face?
Cow face.
Huh. Gosh. I'm just going to say that's fake.
It's yoga.
Ugh.
No yoga I ever went
I
to.
know.
It's illegal.
I looked it up.
I guess,
Oh, jeez.
I was thinking crossface. Maybe there's a cow face in wrestling that I'm completely unaware of. But
Yeah, cow face. I know. Look, I'm saying that because I was shocked and amazed too. Let's just do a couple more. Go ahead, Gary.
I got one.
Go ahead, Lou.
Is this Kama Sutra, wrestling, or yoga? Diving elbow drop. Any guesses?
that is certainly wrestling.
Oh, good,
There you go.
good job. Good job. All right, Gary, go ahead.
How about number 48, sexy prune?
What was it?
Sexy prune.
I mean, again, just guessing.
Sure.
Can I say fake again?
You can say
can.
fake,
Well, I just,
There's no limit.
but apparently it's Kama Sutra.
is there any fake one? Am I
Yes,
just saying fake?
here.
Would it be
No.
would it be all right if we like
Because I've
Here-
gone 4
here-
times.
Here's
and
a
gone
fake
over
one.
4.
Here's a fake one. Here's
guess
a,
this guess
no,
which one.
here's one. How about this? Shining steel. That's a fake one I made up.
That was fake.
Yeah.
Tokyo
That's
Drift.
a good made up. That's a good made up one.
Yeah,
Tokyo Drift is a fake
Tokyo
one?
Drift
That's-
is a made up
yeah.
one. Shame Spiral.
That's clear.
The Shame Spiral.
That's your favorite.
That was a
phrase.
fake one I made up.
Isn't that a Troy Coleman joke?
yeah, no, yeah.
And
that's
it's also a fake wrestling move. Then also a Blue Moon, and Yak Yak, and the Orange Wave. The Orange Wave also
all right.
also made up.
Now this game's
Right.
easier for you because now it's just wrestling, yoga, or Kama Sutra from here.
You're right,
Yeah.
exactly. I thought Shining Steel.
40
was
more
pretty
minutes of this game.
good. Now this is the last one. Go ahead, Mr. Maxwell.
All right, number 500, the Yes Lock.
Yes.
Yes Lock.
Yes, lock. Oh, then that's wrestling.
Yes! Ding, 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 ding,
Yeah.
ding. All right.
That took me a second.
Samuk, you've been a very tolerant and patient
Yes,
guest.
I agree.
I mean, I'm not
Well,
sure
thank you.
if anyone our other guests have had to put up with as much bullshit as you, and you've done it with poise,
Dignity.
dignity, and grace. A lot of grace. A lot of grace.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, a lot of big thanks for Samuk Tolgakar, and he put up with a lot of challenging questions this time around, guys. Well, join us next week when we'll have special guest comedian Nick Vatterott join us. And this will wrap us up this week, listeners. Special thanks to our lead contributors, Joe Pro and Mr. Wills Maxwell. To download all episodes and extras we put out every week, subscribe in iTunes, Stitcher, or YouTube. Go to our website, myfantasywife.com. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Thank you, Mr. Bishop, for taking us out with the jazz trumpet stylings of Mr. Al Hurt.